So we'll start with initiating the project, and our project is going to be a move, and I'm going to show you how we go through all the steps, how to review the project details, develop the project charter, and then so usually I would want to get all the details of a project, put a charter together, and then decide if I need any more resources on my team. And then me and the team will go and figure out who should be involved, who we call the stakeholders. And then once we figure who the stakeholders are, we're going to run a kickoff meeting, let everybody know what we're doing and what we've done so far so that we can have support within the organization. So let's move to the next step. The first thing that you want to do when you're assigned a project is to review all the details, okay? Review all details of your project, understand the expectations so that when you are collecting requirements for it or you're planning for it, you're planning for that specific project. So the business case would have already been done. And a business case, it's going to have the benefits and the cost, the risk associated. It's a justification for why a project needs to run. So that business case would have already been done. The budget would have already been approved before it comes to a PM. That's, in the life cycle, that's usually what happens. Business case is done by business analysts or others, okay, before it comes to the PM. By the time it comes to the PM, it's already approved. That's why it came to the PM. Okay. If it's coming to you for you to study the business case, you're acting as a business analyst before you become a PM. You're actually doing business analysis. All right. So the business case would have already been done, or it could just be a statement of work. It's a scope of work. They just tell you the scope, what they need, and then you will go and get additional details. Contractors, their project starts whenever a contract is signed. So these are the three typical ways a project comes in. So I would want to review those documents. If it was a contract, I want to read it. If it's a regulatory change that we have to do and it was mandated on all corporations, then I'm going to review this regulation to see what it's in it. If it's a scope statement, I'm going to look at it. If it's a business case, I'm going to look at it if I have access. Why? I want to know why we are doing this one project. Why is it important to the organization? Mind you, as a PM, you don't decide for the organization what is important, but it would be in your interest to know why this thing is important to the organization. Because if you ever have to make a change along the way, you have to make sure the change doesn't defeat the purpose, that it is still aligned with the overall intention of that one initiative. So any other contract-related documents or historical records, if you're in the middle of the project, obviously changes that happened before in the design work, before they came to the final design, before your project is starting, anything that you have, specifications and so on, requirements, functional or non-functional specifications, if you have them, drawings, blueprints, you should look at them because, you will have a lot more information going into the project. Yes, you can take the project and learn these things after, but soon after, like within the first week or two, pick up enough information about why this project is needed. If this is a second phase of something that is lengthy, then understand what happened in the first phase. Review records of the previous phases, determine if this is complex, complicated project. What constitutes complexity really is number of people involved, the nature of the work itself. Is it new technology? Is it something we haven't done? Does it have too many unknowns? Is there a high level of uncertainty? Is it something we were challenged with before? Is it something we're not skilled at? But is it many departments involved in it? Too many people that are high ranking looking down on it because this is really important to them? It can increase the complexity of it. Whereas if you want to do something only in one unit or one department and it's a very specific request, it's usually not that complex. So the more the hands, the more the people, the more the ranks of the people who are observing, the more the complexity. The more the requirements, the more the complexity. The more the challenges and uncertainties, the more the complexity. And the more the complexity, the more thorough you need to be with how you manage that one project. Understand the objectives against what we're able to do. If the objectives are too much and they're overly expecting, then I think you need to tone down the expectations. If, for example, the objective is in the next 2 months, I need to get this done, and you know for sure that this is not possible within the next 2 months, I think, judging by your own capabilities, you should go back to them and say, I think we're over expecting for these 2 months. So you're not just reviewing for the sake of reviewing one-sided. You're reviewing, but you're also going to ask questions. You need to meet with the sponsor and ask relevant questions before you go and prepare that one charter. So what sorts of questions would you ask anyways when you meet with the sponsor? So a good way to start the meeting is like, hello, how are you, or whichever way you greet. But you start with, tell me about the project or product or service that you have in mind. The most dangerous thing you can do is to pretend that you are a specialist. Okay? You don't want to be a technical specialist when you have these meetings. You want to sit with them. So this is not from the PMP or from the PIM book. This is just from the practical side. I actually put this, it's like 5 pages of questions you could ask so that you get more details about the project. So I don't want to ever be a specialist because I could work in any project, right? So because I want to work in any project, it means I'm not a technical specialist at anything. I'm just a good PM. So what I'm going to do is first ask them to talk. The trick is to have them talk, okay? Yeah, let them explain what they want. Do not put words in their mouth. Do not try to specify it for them before they tell you what they're looking for. All right, so ask them, tell me about this project or product that you're talking about. And then they will explain, all right? Ask them, is this project to address a specific problem or need or opportunity? If it is for an opportunity, then ask them, what is the opportunity that we're trying to capture? You know what an opportunity? Something you think will be beneficial for the organization. What are we trying to get? Get an estimate of what they think the opportunity presents, how much money or revenue or how much time it would save, or what is it that they think the benefits are. Try to understand what they think the benefits are. And if the person you're meeting with doesn't have the answers, then they're probably the wrong sponsor. Sponsor is the one who's asking you to do the work, right? They tend to be someone senior or something, head of department, head of unit, whatever, and they're asking you to do this. So try to figure what is the opportunity. Try to put some numbers if you can against it. If it's a problem, try to understand how significant this problem is. Do we have any statistics about it? So let's say the problem is we have expanded the number of team members or the employees have increased. The system was made for a group of 50. However, we become 500. And so this is putting too much strain on the system and we always get timeouts or things don't work well. It is time that we upgrade or move into something better. All right, so do they have a record of how problematic that is? So if there's instances that would really help you. If they don't have a record of the problem or cannot really explain it, then how would you know that you actually solved it later on, right? It's good to have some benchmark idea of what the problem is. Context of the project. These will get information about the business climate surrounding the project. How does this fit with our overall business strategy? They may tell you it's none of your business. You know, they may tell you just work on the project and, you know, go take care of it. It all depends. But if they can explain, you know, how does it fit with our strategy? Who's driving the project from above? That I usually care about, like who's behind this project. I want to know, because that person that's behind this or entity or group or, you know, governmental agency gives me a lot of knowledge of who is my key stakeholder in this one project. So who's driving it? Who do we need to go to for approvals, you know, and funding? What's driving us to do it now? What if we did nothing? What would happen? What if we waited till next year? I want to know the priority of it. How does it fit into the overall priority of projects? If we had to let another project slip, what might that be? If we have to prioritize between this and another, you know, which other project can we drop if we have to? And then, you know, additional questions, product or service. You know, if we had in place right now, what are the key features or functions? Sometimes that's the best question you can ask because they are looking for some functionality in that system that they don't have. If they don't, you can ask them, Later on, you see in the scope, have you ever seen, I'll show you here, timing, trade-off, working relation, managing expectations. Have you seen a product like this that you liked? What should the system do? Do you have a clear image of what the end product should look like? These are questions for you to extract answers from them. How will you evaluate the end product? What do you want to see at the end? I mean, how do you know you got what you're looking for? What are your competitors doing for these types of functions? In your case, it may not necessarily be competitors, right? So this part of it is to define what that product is. I don't know if you like these questions, but it does extract a lot out of that one person. And mind you, if you read through all of these, there's nothing that says, I know anything technical. It's just questions I can ask any business user about any project whatsoever. Have we done this in the past? Does this have support of management? Sometimes you have a unit head asking for it, but there are people against it. Are there any other current or future projects depending on this? What other projects are helping you achieve these goals? So you could ask a lot of these questions. I have lots of templates that I want to share with you that you can use on your projects that we will open up in the training. Now, you don't have to ask all these questions because they'll probably kick you out for asking that much. But ask the ones that you feel will help you understand what the objective is. Don't try to solve anything. That meeting, you should not solve anything. You should just hear them out. So all these questions are intended to do that. Why, for business purposes, why are we doing this? What are the benefits? By when? How much money do we have this? Key drivers for this. Expectations. So anyways, I don't want to read every one of them, but you want to know why they need it. You want to know details. You have to ask these questions. Do not try to solve it right then. The moment you try to solve it right then, it's your fault. They're going to say, well, you're the one who suggested it. I trusted you. You're the expert. You say, I'm the expert at delivering what you need, so I need to know what you need. So before I propose any solutions to them, I need to hear them out. I have to put a good effort in getting them to speak about why this is needed. So you have to also properly set expectations on if we do this option, if we do this option. So don't give them options immediately. That first meeting, 30 minutes, 1 hour, 20 minutes, whatever it is, just to hear them out and ask them if there's somebody else you need to talk to get additional information. But you want to ask who else. So if you look at the stakeholder part, who else should we talk to? Who's the most knowledgeable person on this topic? Who's the primary user? Who else will use the system? Who will be affected? Who will be against us? Who could stand in our way? I could ask all these. Who will be negatively affected from this? For whose benefit is the project being undertaken? What customer group or department is the project intended to impact? Who's likely to feel threatened by this project or have strong opinions against it? Who do we need to talk to that has to be happy with the results? Who are the strong supporters of this project? You could ask your sponsor, the one who's asking you to do the work, to tell you what they know. They could tell you who you should be talking to. Maybe they won't tell you who's against it, but they'll tell you who maybe talk to this one person they probably know. But you need to understand the goals before you jump into trying to find a solution. Sometimes the hasty things we do because we think that that's what they expect, when we are supposed to be the PMs, not them, those things we rush ourselves into is what gets us in trouble. Have to always stop and ask. Okay? If I can be really annoying. I will ask the question, they don't answer it. Watch on TV how they do interviews. They ask a question, the person doesn't answer it. They ask it again in a different way. And politicians obviously know how to dodge answers. They will not answer it. At that point, they will stop. They will not ask. Okay? So at least ask twice in different ways to get an answer. Yeah? Rewrap the question and ask it. Anyways, hope you like that piece of it. And that's how I want to keep it practical. Let's just go step by step on how we take on the projects. There are obviously tools you could use, like, business needs analysis. From the portfolio manager side, they can see if this is strategically aligned. And in case you want some insight into what it means to be strategically aligned, I can easily tell you how that works, because I teach also strategic planning and portfolio management. If this is your organization's vision, if this is where they want to get to, and this is where they are, some activities have to happen along the way, like this. And let's say somebody wants to add an activity here, but you feel that if you work on this one activity, you're going to have to go off track and then go right back here. And by doing so, you're going to lose time from achieving your goal here at the end. Then I'll say this activity down here is not strategically aligned. It is not strategically aligned if it distracts you from getting to your end result, your vision. Okay? When your management commits publicly and says, we will achieve this by 2022 or 2023 or something like that, the last thing they want is for the statement to become false. And so you always have to warn them, if we are going to do this, it is going to take resources and it's going to distract us from the path that we're working on, which means what you planned for this timeline is not going to happen. Okay? The only way that's going to happen is if you give me more people to work on this so that I can oversee multiple initiatives to help you achieve your vision. Okay? Your goal as a PM is to successfully deliver those projects that your management sees as important for them. Your goal is to execute these projects for them. Your goal is not to try and make them children or to try to sway their thinking into something easier. It's to help them achieve that vision. And the more you get yourself involved in understanding the strategic importance of these things, the more relevant you're going to become to the organization. So I'm not going to be a PM who just sits there and does what they're being told or being pushed to give a solution before I hear anything. No, I'm going to be nicely, creatively asked with talent, asking what exactly they're looking for. Yeah? And they're going to be happier with the outcome. It's really worth the time investment to clarify what they're looking for. Once you get enough information, you need to fill out the project charter.